Let's do it. Let's go.
Cool. Let's start with Jenny Carlson.
Hey, Lauren, how are you?
Hi, Jenny. It's been a while.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Jocelyn's approach, if you will, her ability to hit in pressure situations. We saw it again and again, last season, I think about the Women's College World Series especially, but now with this chase, her ability to do that. What strikes you just in how you did it obviously, but how do you see her handling those pressure situations?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the fact that she's confident in her ability to hit any pitch. So when you get into these pressure situations and you're not seeing, pitches exactly down the middle, she can trust in her ability to hit tough pitches. So as this, chase has gone on, and I mean, it takes me back to when I was doing it and you aren't seeing those fat pitches, you're kind of having to make something shake on your own. So her ability to hit those bad balls and just know her strengths, it seems to have helped her as she's gotten deeper in it.
When you are in situations with pressure, whether it's a championships situation or a record chase that you were in, she's in now, do you think that as you get older, more experienced, you find that you embrace those moments differently, or is that something that is maybe a little bit inherent with personality? I don't know. How did you approach that? What was it for you? And do you think it's in any way similar with her?
We're pretty similar, and she would probably tell you the same thing personality wise. But I think pressure is pressure, and you feel those things anyway. So I don't think anybody's really immune to that when you get so close to a record like this. And obviously with her tying it, it's like those feelings are definitely there. I don't care how good you are. But I think it's your ability to feel those things and push through anyway. Push through feeling uncomfortable if you do. But some people just get stuck there. But if you're able to just kind of keep, wading through those waters, you're able to you'll get where you're going.
Thanks, Lauren.
Sure. Thank you.
Go to Eric Bailey.
Lauren, thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Hey, I've asked some of the other OU players and some other softball players, and I'll ask you, go back in your memory a little bit. Do you remember the first home run you ever hit as a softball player? How old were you? Do you still have the ball? And what do you recall?
I do not remember. I don't remember. When there's so many, you just don't remember it. No, I'm just kidding. I don't remember. I can tell you, I do remember in high school, starting to really hit the ball far. So that was my kind of like, I know you're like, wait, what about 8 years old, 9 years old? Like when I was in high school is when I really remember like that power starting to come through. So specifically, I remember hitting, I know double, you can fact check. I don't know, Patrick, if you have it, but my freshman year fall, I do remember hitting my first bomb at OU and what that felt like. So yeah, it was a good time.
When you hit so many, does it ever get old, or does it still feel the same whenever you hit?
No, it's the best feeling in the world. And I have yet to replace that feeling. So it's the best feeling in the world.
Lauren, thanks so much. Thanks for doing this too. Have a good week.
Eric.
We'll go to Ryan Aber.
Yeah, Lauren, thank you so much for taking the time today. Do you remember when you first started thinking about the fact that Jocelyn could be the one to break this record? And what have you told her about the approach as you get really close and the pressure that starts to build up? Obviously, much different situation for her than what you were in at the end of the season with Shelby. But what advice have you given her about that?
Yeah, well, I'll go back to your first point about when did you know? And I knew when she was a freshman. Like I heard that she was coming, and I knew she was just different. And hearing Coach Gasso kind of talk about like what she could be able to do when she gets on campus. I remember specifically actually this time when she was a freshman, it was the Palm Springs Tournament Mary Nutter Classic, and watched her play. And afterwards we kind of chatted a little bit about, how are you feeling? Like, how's your freshman year going so far? What's different? All that stuff. And she had mentioned, all of the comparisons that people were making, like, man, you're the next Lauren Chamberlain, like you're the next Lauren, like we finally have that person that's, come along. And we had talked about how badly she wanted to be the one and only Jocelyn, right? Like not the next Lauren, the one and only Jocelyn, and how important it was for her to write her own story and create her own narrative around this entire thing. So I knew it from the jump that it was going to be her. I'm glad it's her. I'll tell you, I'm very happy that it's going to, you know, stay in OU's pocket, but it's been just amazing to see her flourish. And it's cool because I remember those feelings as a freshman, like I just have this whole blank slate. And if she's coming in and immediately being compared to me, like that's tough. Like that's pretty, it's a completely different situation for me. I didn't really have, Stacey Newman was 13 years prior and she was on a completely different team. So it's definitely a different situation. But as far as giving her advice, and I think sometimes it's not so much advice, it's just knowing that someone else felt the things that you felt. So for her being like, hey, did you feel these things? Did you have these thoughts? Did you doubt yourself? Did you ever like think maybe I wasn't going to do it? Like, of course I did. And sometimes you just have a little bit of relief knowing that the person that did this before you felt those things. So you're not on your own. You're not, you know, questioning yourself as much. You're like, man, this sounds about right. It's part of the process. So my biggest piece of advice to her has been just keep swinging. Just keep swinging.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you.
Go to Abby Bitterman.
Yeah, hi Lauren. I wanted to ask you, you know, about your Jocelyn Alo jersey and just how you, when you decided to make that, why you wanted to make it, and how it kind of came together.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is just showing my vote of support. And a lot of people have always been like, I wonder how you feel. Like, how do you feel? How do you feel? And I'm like, okay, this is going to show how I feel. Like, I'm going to rock an Alo jersey and just be a fan, right? And it's been so awesome to like take that role as a fan and be sitting in the stands and watch it, because you know when you've done it, but you were a player. Like you didn't really feel the feelings of, you know, sitting in the stands watching someone create history. And I think it's so cool to be on that side of the fence now and be like, oh man, I'm actually watching this in real time. Like, so this is history happening in our sport. So with the jersey, and I get quite, I mean, I get tweets about this all the time. Like, where can I get that jersey? And I'm like, I'm not sharing my secret sauce yet, because I want Jocelyn to make some money. So we're gonna figure that out. But we having it made and just being like, I want, like, I was gonna do like I know I did a Coach Gasso one, but I'm like, I want to do like Alo on the back, like her number, like just show my vote of support. So that was fun because people were like, oh my God, you're wearing her jersey. And I'm like, why wouldn't I? Like, absolutely I am. So it's been fun, and it's fun to see like, oh, you kind of clip the videos from the World Series, and I was going crazy, but it's nice. It's fun to be a fan.
Thank you.
Yep.
We'll go to John Hoover.
Hi, Lauren. Hey, thanks for doing this.
Thanks.
So I'm wondering, I'm pretty sure nobody on this call has ever chased a home run record. Just two people, you and Jocelyn, obviously. So we don't know what it's like. Can you kind of translate that for us? Maybe you talked about doubt, and you talked about all the you know, I wonder if I can do this. How does that move into taking the bat to the plate and, you know, removing that doubt? There's probably quiet moments in your when you're away from the field where you're like, I'm not good enough, but then you get to the plate and it shows that you are. How does that translate kind of?
Yeah. And it's sometimes you go to the plate and you don't think you're good enough. I mean, like sometimes it doesn't translate over. It doesn't always carry over, but I mean, Jocelyn, she probably felt the same things, but like, I know I slumped a little bit before I tied it. And slumping mean I didn't hit a home run in like 3 games. So it's when you get to that point, you're slumping if you don't hit a bomb, right? Like that's your slump. So when you start to get that outside pressure and you start to see the media follow it and the attention, and I know back when it happened to me, and they you know, ESPN crews with their cameras were like on the field, like following me to the plate, like ticket prices are going up. You're starting to see more and more people standing. They're not sitting. There's just like a hum now. Like when you come to the plate, it's like, oh, she can do it this time. She could do it this time. Like you're just starting to feel like a little bit more hype around everything. So that pressure starts to load because you're like, okay, if I don't do it, it's like, oh, that wasn't the one, right? And it even gets to the point where if you hit a line drive, you know, 5-6 hole, that scores a run and you win the game, she still didn't hit the home run, right? I still didn't see her break history, or make history. So it's an interesting situation when you start to like bring that pressure in. But at the end of the day, like, and Jocelyn and I have talked about it before, it's the same game, same odds, right? You either get the hit or you don't. So it's just, It's interesting. This whole thing's been like bringing back so many memories. It's fun.
You remember meeting her freshman year? She called it, I think she was referring to you when she said it was kind of a fangirl moment for her.
Oh, that's sweet. That's cool. We were just she was just so young. I was so young. It's like, it's crazy to think that it's been what, 5 years now, or almost 5 years. It's like, God, like just to see her growth, it's been insane. But yeah, I immediately was like, dude, you're so strong. Her stature, you're just like, it's almost like hitter respect hitter. Like when you see another one, you're like, all right, bro. Like this is gonna be so fun. But yeah, it's fun because it's like, it was almost like a fangirl moment too for me, because you hear so much about this kid coming out of Hawaii, like about to just destroy everything in college softball. So I'm like, all right, let's see what you got.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll go to Joey Elmer.
Hey, Lauren, how are you doing?
Hey, good. How's it going?
It's good. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you actually a little bit more about what you talked earlier about being in the stands with some of the other fellow alumni softball players. Just how special is that? And then those moments, and how special is it that obviously the record's going to be you and Jossie at the top, and for the program to have both of you at the top there?
Yeah, the alumni section, and I'm thinking specifically back at this last World Series, was just so fun. I got so many texts like, you guys are wilding out. I'm like, yeah, we're having a good time. It was just the Sooner sisterhood and being able to connect with all of your people, and not only like putting on for your class and being like, man, like we went through all this stuff, but acknowledging that you've got like, however many athletes that are going through the same thing again, right? And so there's this built-in bond, there's a built-in sisterhood that nobody can understand unless you've worn the Sooner jersey, and that's it. And that's how that culture, really starts. But it's been exciting. I miss those moments all the time. And I think it's funny, like with this home run chase and how everything's going, it's bringing back so many memories of like how, not only like how did I feel, but just that time in my life. It was such a special time in my life. Those 4 years were like the best. And so, yeah, I miss it. It's exciting. I think it's going to be kind of like a cool, like transfer, like, okay, like this is your time. Like the sport's growing. We're moving in a new direction. Like you're the queen now. I think that's just cool. But yeah, it's home run you, baby. Like that's it. Like it's crazy. And then thinking about Tiare coming up right behind Jocelyn, and just the potential. But yeah, when you rewrite the record books and it looks like all OU at the top, that's something to say. Shout out to Coach Gasso.
Thanks.
We'll go to Ryan Chapman.
Hey, Lauren, thanks for doing this. I got a two-parter for you that's a little bit different, but I promise it'll tie in on the back end. But
Okay.
You have a new title these days, Commissioner Chamberlain.
Yes.
What has that been like for you as far as the challenge of helping build the new league, and what that's been like for you, things you didn't expect, things that have gone easier than normal? Just kind of walk me through that real quick.
Yeah. So WPF, Women's Professional Fast Pitch. Yeah, when I got the call to become commissioner, I was like, absolutely. Like this is probably gonna be the harder thing that I've done in my life, but yeah, I feel like I'm built for it. So the challenge, I think, is having experienced the height of NCAA softball and just the beast that it is and all of the support that it has. And then how do I carry that into the professional level? And that's been the age-old question that we've always wondered, is like, why is there such a drop off? Why can't we continue, to follow these players? And I think branding has to do everything with it. I think visibility has to do everything with it. So at least getting somebody in the commissioner spot and getting people involved that have a little bit more visibility and can really connect the right people. It's exciting. I understand the opportunity that I have ahead of me to really build something and make it last and make it viable. So it's exciting. It's been very, very challenging. And I say that in a good way. Like I've been wanting a challenge like this for a long time. It reminds me of chasing after something, right? It's like the same type of feeling. And that excitement of getting in a room with a lot of money and seeing who can buy into professional softball. It's really cool. But I think the most challenging part is thinking as an athlete versus thinking as a businesswoman. And thinking as an athlete, you wonder, why aren't people supporting this? Like, why isn't the money coming out? Why aren't people just jumping at the opportunity to make this the biggest thing ever, right? And as a player, you're like, I know my worth. But then as a businesswoman on the side, you're like, man, there's just so many other things that go into it. It's not that easy. And there's a lot of layers and levels to it. So it's hard. It's challenging, but it's like such a good challenge. And I know that when this bites, it's going to go, and the people that are getting in on it now are going to be really cool. But honestly, shout out to Oklahoma. We've been moving with conversations and just getting people on board. And it seems like the people that support OU softball are really, really invested in this professional development. So it's exciting.
And then the second part to that is Jocelyn's talked a ton about how she dreams of putting on the Team USA jersey at the Olympics. If you're able to knock this out of the park, what would that mean for you to be able to play such a huge role, and not just Jocelyn, but a ton of OU players and softball players around the country, to be able to bridge that gap?
Yeah.
The French are being lame and dipping out on the next Olympics.
Right. No, for sure. It's when in my situation, and I pull from just my experience because that's what I know, but not being able to be in the Olympics in my prime, and like when I was ready to go and wearing the USA jersey and not having that opportunity to play on that stage, that was hard. I mean, that's what you work for. I mean, like that's on your third grade project, right? It's like, I'm going to play for Team USA. And I'm sure a lot of women out there have the same type of project. And I've said that before, but with Jocelyn and her opportunity to have a place for them to play, to have somewhere for them to strive to, that's bigger than college, right? Because think of college and it's like your MVPs of college, they're all going to play pro. Like that's who's been playing professional softball. That's who I played with, was all of our World Series MVPs, when we face them every single weekend. And then same with Olympics, it should be the best of the best going out. So if we can have a place for them to play, to showcase their abilities and not have the drop off and not have them just completely like hop off the cliff and no one hears from them again, give them a place to be seen and played. Seeing the last Olympic team play in Tokyo and just seeing them on that world stage again, it's such a boost for this sport that we all love. And it's important for these women. Because if you're thinking about professional and you're like, I mean, we always say top 2%, but with how small professional softball is, it's even smaller than that. You're talking about the top of the top, the best of the best, and you have no idea where they go. How can you tell? Like that's where I get a little bit, it's hard for me to really comprehend, is how do you tell me to be the best of the best at my sport, and I do it for a very long time, and then as soon as I get even more to the top, you don't follow me. Like that's a hard one for me to swallow. So I think it's important that we continue to build a good foundation and a good place for these women to play.
Thanks a ton, Lauren.
Thank you. Good questions.
I'll go to Garen Emick.
Hey, Lauren, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. You were saying a little bit ago about how the Jocelyn's pursuit has allowed you to sort of reach back and relive some things from when you were with the Sooners. And I'm wondering if you had at the time a perspective of the aura or the buzz that surrounded what you were about as a player, or did you need to separate from it, right, and sort of look back on it to really soak it in and appreciate what that time meant for you and the program, if you follow what I'm asking?
Yeah, you can feel it as a player. I remember specifically feeling it at the World Series. Like when you have that many people and they know when you come up to the plate, you can feel that buzz and you can feel that energy. But you're spot on. You don't really feel it until you're done. You don't really realize, what was going on. And part of that was Coach Gasso and how she approached these types of situations. So Coach never really let us get too high or get too low on it. It was just another game. And that's kind of how she treated it with me. And I remember thinking in certain times, like, come on, Coach, like, you know what I mean? Like, come on, Coach, but she just kept you so level-headed with it. And to be honest, I don't think we could have accomplished that if she hyped it up just as much as everybody else was. So looking back on it, I think you just realize, and again, I said this earlier, but watching even on TV, like how quiet everybody gets when she comes up to the plate. Like it's a buzz, but it's just quiet. And right. I think it's because everybody knows the weight of the moment. Like everybody knows that something is about to happen when she's at the plate. So like it's a crazy transition when you start to watch it as a fan, but you're watching almost what you went through exactly, but from a different perspective. It's been a really cool couple weeks for sure. I
apologize in advance. It's a bit of a heavy question, but what would you say how would you come to terms with your legacy to that program, your specific
Mm.
one?
Mm. That's a good question. That is a heavy question. I do think that my legacy is far more than the home runs. I do. I think I gave fans a lot of fun memories in the stands. I think I gave them, things to talk about and things to look forward to. I think back to, 2013 and just everything that was going on in Oklahoma as a whole with the tornadoes and just everything that was going on. And, are we going to play? Are we not going to play? And I remember being in the room and making that decision as a team that, yeah, we're going to keep playing and gives, people something to have hope for and look forward to. So just in the big grand scheme of things, wearing the jersey and having the most fun of my life, but, bringing fans along the way with me, that part is I think what the legacy is. And hopefully they can, remember the home runs, but that there was a lot more to it and so much more that I loved as well.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that.
Thanks.
I got time for a few more. We'll go to Eric Lopez.
Lauren, great. Thanks for doing this. I wanted to follow up on being the commissioner part. Is there a timetable for the league? And,
Yeah.
I covered you with the USSSA and obviously playing with them and being around them. What did you learn from that experience that you will apply to this league? Either things that you thought might work or things that you don't think it worked there that we shouldn't do there. What kind of how that will help you in this experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So time frame, at least for inaugural season, is we're going to start in June. So look for something in June. Year one being more of a bringing everything to market year, really intentional, smaller scale, building a product that we can really take out there. So look for it in June. Learning from our past is the biggest thing, right? Learning. And if you have with NPF having 15 years of experience, I mean, that's not a failure to me. There's so many things that we can pull that were good from that. But I think the approach now with just how hot women's sports are right now in general, and more people buying in data wise and resources and just giving more attention really to professional women's sports is important. And using that data, not only is it a feel good thing anymore, right? Not only is this something that you should do because it's your duty and it's your job. This is something that we've seen over and over again, thanks to the World Series. There's that data is incredible, and the numbers. It's a standalone, powerful sport. So to be able to take those types of things and bring them to some serious investors and some, people with deep pockets that value that and that align with that, it can go really far. So I'm here for a long time. I'm not here for a blip. So it's gonna move at its pace, and it's gonna go when it goes. But I'm excited, man, when the right people right now are figuring it out, and I'm pumped for them because they're gonna really reap the benefits of it.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing more about that and talking to you about that down the road. You've mentioned memory lane. When you look at this Oklahoma run the last 2 years, offensively in particular, compare that to your offense in 2013. I've talked to Jessica Schultz about it, and they're really quick to say, hey, we were just, pretty good too ourselves offensively.
I believe it.
It got a little competitive there, Schultz,
Yeah.
there. How do you compare these two offenses here? Because these are the two best offenses ever in the sport we've seen.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so funny because we're so quick to we square up really quick. I mean, they're scary. I would love if we go just best team, best weekend. I want to see them hit off of our pitching, but at the same time, I'm like, man, because it's with Kaylani and Michelle, it's just they were so sick. I'm thinking specifically to 2000. I always pull from 2013 because that's just that year was just crazy. But I mean, they're so good, but they're so good. This new the new players they're so good. So it's hard. That's such a tough question. I think we would just have in a dream world, we would just settle it on the field. Oh, prime versus prime, we just settle it. But
yeah,
we'll never know. But I die on my 2013 team. My teammates, if they saw this and I said anything else, I would get calls left and right.
You're right about that. Michelle Gascoigne said the same thing. So you guys pretty prideful, rightfully so. What was it about Jocelyn that you embraced her and you embraced this record? Coach Gasso said she's so proud of you embracing it, that it's made it easy, and Jocelyn appreciates you, that she can go to you anytime. Why? What was it about her that you said, I'm going to embrace this, I'm going to root for her?
Well, number one, I love Jocelyn. That's no question. She's like family to me. That's a sister to me. But in the grand scheme of things, you think back, and I always operate like this, like, what do I wish I would have had? Or like, what do I wish, like, how could I have made this easier if someone kind of reached out to me? And I remember specifically the conversations that I had with Stacey Newman when I was getting close. And it was just a little tweet DM, you know, we didn't have each other's numbers. We didn't call each other up, but just that little vote of support was like, oh, she's rooting for me. Like, it was just such a relief of like, oh, that's cool. And the only person that understands what I'm going through is her. Like, that's it. So to be able to kind of like lend out that hand and just be like, girl, friend to friend, like, I got you. Like, like no one else understands. And when you're in that room and you're in your, you know, apartment after a game and you didn't get it done and you think you're slumping and you don't know if it's going to happen, like, that's who you want to talk to, because you just want to know if they felt the same way. Like, you just want to know if this is something that's ever crossed their mind. So to be able to be a voice for her, and not the voice, because I know she's got a great support system, but at least someone that can, you know, share that moment with her and just reassure her a little bit. It's a lot easier that I like her. It's a lot easier that I actually care for the girl. She's awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
I think we'll go last one to Jason Batacchio.
I think you're muted.
So sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so kind of a two-parter for you. Kind of the first question I want to ask you, kind of looking back on you, being in the stands of the Hall of Fame Stadium in Oklahoma City, do you remember what game you were at, and what were you celebrating during that moment?
Which one? Which game?
The moment when you were like waving the jersey around. It's on Twitter.
Okay. Yeah, that moment. I think it was UCLA. Jocelyn didn't hit it out. I think she hit was it a triple or a double or something? I don't know. She's yeah, when she hit that triple and it was against UCLA, there's like history, like, and she just, and the way she was like, and I was just like, bro, I'm lit. I was really excited. That was a really fun moment. So yeah, I know it was UCLA, and I know it was a big hit for her.
Awesome. Okay. And second question, you know, obviously Jocelyn has talked about you and her have kind of had some conversations leading up to her breaking the record. What have you guys kind of talked about, and how has she leaned on you, you know, in moments of pressure, especially during this season?
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of everything, and it's not always leaning on me for softball expertise or like you know, what were you feeling when you're up to the plate? Because when you get to that point, you're just, she knows. I mean, we're both the same when it comes to that stuff. So we kind of understand what our answers would be, but more so that off the field stuff, like, man, this is just like, you know, it's getting tough, or just senior year, like, how do you keep that fire? You know, there's certain things that are just life, and every athlete has those conversations with other athletes, and you specifically pick someone that you trust and that you know has maybe felt that before. So we've just had some really, really, really good conversations about life, like what her plans are, what her goals and dreams are, that far exceed this home run record. So it's been really fun to create that friendship with her.